We are live. Oh my goodness, we are live. It is Thursday night, which means we are live and we are here for a Mastery Chat recap. And holy cow, it was incredible. That was such a great chat. I know that we are streaming on both of our Facebook groups. We have, let's see, we have Periscope for YouTube or for Twitter. We've got Twitch. We've got YouTube. We're just streaming everywhere. So if you're joining us tonight, say hi. Tell us that you're here. Tell us where you're watching from. And give us some love. This was an amazing chat. So give us some comments, give us some likes, reactions. And we're going to start talking about how incredible this chat was, because this is going to take all night to cover just how amazing this went. I was just saying that I stepped away for 2 minutes and I came back and I was like, oh no, I can't even keep up. It was going so quickly. There were so many amazing things. We've got Adam here with us. We've got Nikki jumping in. So many good things. So here's Jeremy jumping in. Awesome chat. I loved some of his answers. Was retweeting those like crazy. Adam misses bowling because Nikki's bowling. What a great thing to do on a Thursday night. Mastery chat, bowling, best of both worlds. It was an incredible chat. So how are you feeling now that it's done and we're recapping? How are you feeling about this?
Oh my gosh, I am feeling pretty exhausted. I'm excited, but I'm exhausted. And I can't wait to go back, because I feel like at a certain point, I felt like so much was coming at me that I just couldn't keep up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm still on question 2 and everyone else is on question 4. So I can't wait to go back and revisit all the tweets and the comments. But yeah, feeling great. I'm glad that people are talking about it.
Yes. And I think I love what you said, how, you're on question 2 and really it's question 5. But I think those are some of the best chats when you can sit there later that night or the next day and you can really, you still have so much to look through and you're still getting so much value out of it. It's just, those are the best. We've got Caitlin joining us. We've got Jeff joining us. I took Jeff's job. Well, Jeff, I took all their jobs tonight. Hopefully I do okay and they keep me. We've got Alex. Yes, again, like Jeff says, just going back and seeing everything that you missed, because there's still just so much value. It was literally just incredible. So let's kind of dive into this. What were you, as you were building this? So our topic tonight was, is our work and education really connected to our future? Which I feel like, first of all, is relevant all the time, but probably more relevant now than any other time. What were you kind of thinking as you were creating these questions? And, how did you end up with this route? And how did you end up with these questions?
Good question. I think that sometimes I get frustrated when I'm talking to colleagues who shy away from politics and some of these big issues that are hitting us, that are hitting our kids, our families, and us as educators. And a good example, school shootings. It's a painful topic, and sometimes after, like, in the wake of some of these shootings, as it goes along the normal timelines that we're usually in, I see more friends and colleagues talking about, like, the Super Bowl or the championship game or the last week's football game than I do about something like a school shooting. And I know people are scared. I know it's a touchy subject, right? And sometimes we don't feel equipped to talk about it. But if we're not talking about something like that, who's going to? And too much of politics does find its way infiltrating into our work and into our lives, and especially in this time. And you know, the current president is talking about this patriotic commission, and it's, to me, I mean, I'm gonna share my opinion. It's frightening, and if we are not the ones who are leading, guiding, and facilitating these conversations that matter, then who's going to do it? And some people think that some some of the problems that we're facing right now, could they be because we've avoided politics and taking a non-neutral stand for so long that people end up leaving our K-12 education system, and they're not sure what it means to be in voting or jury duty. So I wanted to explore our work in education and how it connects to politics, and how both of those are intertwined with some of these huge, huge issues that we're bogged down with. The racial disparities, the social injustice, the societal wrongs that are happening right in front of us. And these are things that deeply affect our children, our families, and us as educators. How can we not? Yeah, so I wanted to just explore the intersection of all this and see what people are thinking and feeling in Mastery Chat.
I think it's so perfect. It's, they truly do go hand in hand, and we can't say that I teach math, but I don't just teach math, and we all always say that. We wear so many different hats and we play so many different roles, and I think you really said it perfectly. Is yes, some of these topics and some of these issues can create discomfort, and people don't feel equipped. And I think that there's two parts of that. We grow the most when we're uncomfortable, and so do our kids. So I think to continuously sweep things under the rug and think that it's either going to be fixed or it's going to go away is not always the right answer. And I don't know that there always is a right answer, but I also think that not only, when we're uncomfortable, can it be good to talk about issues, but I think it's okay to admit when we don't feel equipped to talk about something. It's, we always want to model honesty and not being perfect with our students, and sometimes not having the answers and not knowing everything. But I think that's part of it, is we always want to teach them where to look. And if we're not equipped with all the right answers, that's okay. We don't have to be. You don't have to be equipped with all the right answers to have the conversation or to ask questions. So I think that modeling that for our students can sometimes have such great effects on them. Did you?
Sorry.
Oh, no, you go.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think so much this opportunity in not knowing, and the more transparent we are, the more genuine we are with our kids or our staffs. I can tell students, I don't know this, but how can we figure this one out? Let's do this one together, because I really don't know. And it can turn that into an opportunity where we're exploring it together. And tonight on the chat, it was so exciting to see many people talking about, this idea of working together, this collective voice. And how do we build that collective voice, or that broad understanding across the aisle, or with people who are different from us, then exploring something together and looking at facts? Because the scary thing is right now, Megan, even the idea of science and facts are disputed. So it's up to us to help shape our kids and help them understand and look at problems with a critical eye, and to really research deeply beyond the first Google search. They have to go deep and figure out, like, is this a credible source?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those are all such important skills for them as they're getting older. And eventually, they're going to be in our positions and to be informed, but also to know how to be informed and how, like you said, you can't just type something into Google and first thing that pops up, that's what we're going to go with. So it's so important to explore that. And if we aren't teaching that, who is teaching that? So we play such a vital role. And again, we wear so many different hats. We don't just teach the content and the subject that we're in. So I think that, that is something that we always have to be aware of.
Right.
What we kind of touched on this a little, but what did you really kind of hope that people were going to take away from this chat tonight?
Honestly, I think my hope was that the people who have their voices will continue to use them, and across a PLN like Mastery Chat, that people will find and support each other and amplify each other's voices. And for those people who are not sure about their own voices, who haven't really found them yet, that maybe they can tag on to some of these amazing, inspiring Twitter leaders, these eduheroes that are out there. So many tonight within the Mastery Chat, who can really model how to find your voice and what to do with it. And then for those people who are just staunchly against touching politics or sharing their opinions on issues that matter, I hope that they will at least start to open that door a little more. I don't expect anyone to do a 180 tonight, and genuine change usually comes very slowly. And if we can just open that door a little so that people would consider it, because really, like, what is it? There are so many amazing quotes about how positions of neutrality, they don't serve the victims or the underserved. They serve those in power. And if we really and truly went into education to change the world for the better, if we're scared to take a position on matters that really have significance in our lives, in our children's lives, in our future, then we're not being real true to our why.
I love that. That is so perfect. And we've got a couple comments, and I do love this. It can be very uncomfortable and even scary, but so important. And again, I think that just because something makes us uncomfortable, that's usually where we're really going to grow. So sometimes we do have to push outside that comfort zone. And also Alex saying that really, we need to teach the students how to ask the questions and present challenges. And I think we do that so much with our content that it just needs to happen all the time with anything. They need to ask the questions and they need to look for the answers. And, again, thinking critically about problems. That's what we're all about. So I feel like when we really focus on that overall in our content, we can't just say, well, that applies to this, but not this. It's true across the board. They need to be critical thinking. They need to learn how to search for their answers, and not even sometimes answers, but just valid information.
Yeah.
That's truly what we're hoping to grow when we are talking about our students. And so many people in the why, that was their why. It's the students. So if it's all about the students, we have to push for that change for us, for them, and help them be able to push for that change. And again, it's so important to bring about the change. And I totally agree. I love what you said about kind of just cracking that. Even if we just crack that door open, I think that that's so important. Change does not have to be a huge change all at once overnight. It's little by little. And I think that again, if we hopefully, crack that door open just a little bit as time goes, hopefully that door, is just going to keep opening and opening, and it's going to get easier to open that door. We have to start somewhere, and sometimes you just got to take a step, and it'll happen, and it'll be uncomfortable, but we're going to grow. I think that I know the answer to this, but I'm going to let you answer. Do you think that people took away what you had hoped?
I'm gonna just tell you that toward the end, I couldn't keep up with the tail end of that chat. And I can't wait to go back and visit them and comment on them. But based on what I saw, I felt like it was happening. Even people to be willing to be in this conversation tonight, to join Mastery Chat, I saw, there were people who were like, no on politics and no on this. But for you to even be in this chat, that's the door opening, right? And a lot of people talked about how important it is that connection between the heart, the mind, and the soul, and just keeping those open, especially in this time, because this is we find ourselves in such a divided time, and it's hard. It's really hard to listen to some people. I get that. I feel that. But if we, as educators who are really working hard to shape the future for our kids and our families, if we're going to take that stand where we're closing down and shutting out certain voices, then how can we ever expect our kids to do the same? Then the kids are smart, right? My 3 kids are smart. They're smarter than me. And, the kids we work with, they're smart. They see through it when we're not being genuine. They know when we are just talking words and the actions don't follow. So until we as educators embrace the lessons that we want to teach, they won't go far. The kids eventually, they'll see through it. And it's amazing, like my kids are young adults now, and they talk about some of the teachers in their lives before. And the rare ones that stand out, who really mattered, they were usually the ones who talked about some of these hard conversations, who did not shy away from some of these conversations that matter.
Absolutely. Kids, I could not agree more with absolutely everything you said. And I, before, like I said, I knew how to answer that question. People absolutely took so much away. And I think they took away everything that you hoped. And as I was seeing everyone answer and just watching those answers come in and watching them fly through, and I had to, scroll down, and I was missing a bunch, and I can't wait to go back and read them. I think that you made such a great point by joining the chat. That was, for so many people, just them opening that door by being willing to even just participate, even if you answered one question or, you were commenting. That's the door opening. And that's sometimes just where it starts, and being open to that. It's, we don't always have to agree on everything. That's not, when we're having these conversations, I feel like sometimes that's a misconception of, we're not trying to sit down and say, I want you to agree with me and I want you to feel the way I feel. It's okay to disagree, and it's okay to have different views, and it's okay to both be a little uncomfortable with certain conversations. I think that's where the learning is happening, though, is being able to listen, which, again, listening is key. Really being able to be open-minded and listen to what someone is saying and understand their perspective. And doesn't mean you have to walk away agreeing, but that is huge. Really listening to understand, and not just listening to have something to say back to them. So I absolutely think that people walked away with so much from tonight. And I think there's already people, that are going to be going back and looking through, and there's just so much to learn and so many amazing educators who have so much more insight than I have. And I was reading some of these answers and I was like, wow, like you're somebody that I want to connect with and follow because I'm just loving everything that you were saying. So that I definitely feel like people walked away. It was awesome. What was your favorite question?
I think my favorite one was the one, I think it was question, the one that had to do, question 3, the one that captured a lot of the uncomfortable topics right now. I know that may have touched on some people's nerves, but I really want to put that one in because that's the scary one. Especially like those issues that are right in front of us, right in outside our doors, and the larger looming ones that a lot of people aren't talking about. We as people, we get limited. Our attention spans aren't that great, and so when we talk about this issue, sometimes we let the other issue go. And right now, I get it, like, the social injustice and the debate, the election, the Supreme Court nomination, all these things are big things that matter a whole lot. And then looming over us is this this climate change thing. And sometimes when I'm asleep, before I fall asleep at night, I'm thinking about climate change and I'm doom scrolling through Twitter about climate change and I'm thinking like, we're gonna die. and all of this just scares me and I hope that people are talking about it. And right now, just because we're in a shutdown, well, not the shutdown, the distance learning, we don't have, or we haven't had the school shootings, but that's another big one, right? And how many have come and gone? I remember when Sandy Hook happened, it was incredibly unreal because at our school, we had someone dressed up as Santa giving out gifts. And I walked into my office to grab a camera and something flashed on my screen and I saw this unfolding and I cried. And I had to walk back in there to our kids who did not know what was going on, And I thought that really would be the point where America says, this is wrong. We have 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds who were just blown away with these assault weapons. There were teachers and the principal. They were murdered. And yet we let that one come and go. And then we had so many series of more. And, Parkland was another big one. And Parkland came. And I thought, wow, these kids are hope, right? These kids are inspiring me. They're so amazing. They're leading this. They're leading this change. It's going to happen this time. And it didn't. And so many of these issues that keep me up at night, they just come and go from the attention that most of us have in front of us, and until the next one. Yeah.
Yeah, I could not agree with you. It's sad to say it that way, but that is how it seems in so many of the things that it comes up, and it's, making the news, and it's, all over every feed, and then at some point in time it's not, like you said, until it happens again. And I think that this happens with a lot of issues that we deal with. So I do think it's so important for us to just continue talking about these issues, because that's the only way that we keep them relevant, and they are so relevant all the time now anyways. I think you started out with like the really, really good questions at the beginning, and everybody was like, yeah, my why, like, I got that, I can answer that, how do we really see politics connecting to education in our future? Like, I feel like that's an easier one to answer. I feel like they kind of go hand in hand. It's always connected. There's always something. And then you hit us with question 3, and you're right. It was the uncomfortable question, but I really think that started sparking a lot of the conversations. And I don't even want to say they were uncomfortable. It was just good conversation, and it wasn't anyone, like disagreeing and being disrespectful. It was truly just good conversation, and conversation that should happen and had to happen and should happen more often. So I loved that question. I think it was perfectly timed to, let's get into the chat, and then let's really get down to it and talk about the issues, and let's get uncomfortable, and let's grow, and let's do it together. If we're all uncomfortable, that's okay, right?
That's true. Yeah, thanks, Megan. Yeah, I need to reflect on that. But I agree with you. I think especially now, we're the current climate is one where it's hard to even think about one issue, because there are so many issues that every day we wake up and there's another issue that is, thrown in our face. And we need, like what you said, Megan, we need to have these conversations. There are so many staff lunchrooms where, when we're in person, people just avoid things like this, right? And you don't want to get into it with, Mr. Tam over there, because you know how he might react, and let's just keep it a very nice and amicable lunch. But we need to have these conversations, because if we're not having them, who's going to? That whole John Lewis thing, if not us, then who? And if we're scared to have them with our peers and our colleagues and our friends, are we really going to have them in the classroom? And I know some people we're wondering, is the classroom space appropriate to have these conversations? And again, I think yes. I think if we're not having them, then who will?
Yeah, and I think there are so many of these issues that are affecting our kids every day. And it's not that they're issues that, our kids will eventually get to when they're adults. There's so many issues going on right now that are directly affecting them. So I think it's important to have the conversation. And I also think that having the conversation doesn't mean, because I know that when we talk about politics, that's, nobody wants to talk about that in the classroom. But I think that there's a way to do it where, I'm not going in and saying, this is my opinion and this is how I feel and you should feel this way and let's just research this. But I think there's being informed, and there's teaching them how to be informed. And I think that that's something that you can absolutely do without any bias, without your personal opinions coming in. Do I think that our personal opinions have a place in the classroom? No, I think that politically that's something that everybody, has different opinions, but I do think that there is a way to teach our students, and it doesn't mean that we have to, cross any lines to do that. I think that we're expected to teach them, and we cover all these topics. And to be honest, like one of the ones, school shootings, it would be crazy for me to say that I would never talk to my students about that. when I do lockdown drills with them, how many times normally in a normal school year, how many times a year. So to practice that, but not have the conversation, I think that that's then, in a sense, also creating more of a norm that this is normal that we have this kind of drill, but yet we don't ever talk about why. So I think that they go hand in hand. So much of this is already affecting our kids. We have to worry a little less about what bringing up is going to do and just more about how it's brought up and how it's talked about and how it's researched and the discussion that we can have. Because kids are really good at having discussions and they have some really great insights and some really great opinions if we give them that chance to share.
And adding on to that, Megan, kids are really good about having their opinions, especially oftentimes I think that they're simply reflections of what adults are saying at home. And it's, that's fine if we want to leave it at that. But what if we attacked something like that through a lens of critical thinking and teaching them how do we think critically about some of these issues? And how do we as teachers help our students find their voices and their positions? Because that came up tonight in the chat too. And so many people out there know that that is something really important for us as educators to teach our kids. And if we give our students the opportunity to research and dive deep into some of these positions and what's your position, or sometimes even forcing them to take the opposite position, because what does that do? That opens them up to look through that other lens and to argue for it, to look at it, and then later on, like looking at what were your sources, and are these the right sources? Are these the best sources? Let's look at all the multiple sources and see what where the truth is, because it's just like when we get into an argument, the truth isn't here and it isn't here. It's somewhere in the middle.
I completely agree with that. And I do have to say, I loved, I think that middle of the chat was really our deeper conversations, the uncomfortable, things that were coming up. But I did love that last question. I think that after talking about all these issues, and especially, there are just so many things that are going on right now. And I agree, every time I wake up, it's kind of like, oh, what's today gonna bring? And so I think that with everything, it was really great to end with that positive and go back to there's so much hope. These kids have so much hope. They are so intelligent. They have such a bright future. And I think that when we remember that, it makes all these uncomfortable conversations that much more worth it if we're going to be able to continue to grow the kids that we have now into something even better. So I think that I loved kind of how that wrapped up, of really looking at the positive of the kids that we have in front of us and what we get to see and work with every day.
And especially in this time, if we can't find that glimmer of hope or find that positive spin, especially when we're working with our kids to bring it into the classroom, it's hard. I mean, things are hard right now. We don't have to look far to see how hard it is, whether it's economically or socially or in the environment or the political climate. It's hard, and it wears on us. But within those hours of school day, if we don't come in with that sense of hope and positivity, then what are our kids left with? And what are our colleagues left with? I often say that life is hard, but it's up to us and how we choose to look at it, right? And yeah, not everyone is afforded the luxury of their choice in perspective. Many of us are, and if we can choose our perspective, then like I've been in that negative side for for part of my life, and now, like, once you cultivate that sense of positivity, it's I'm not sure how to go back.
I totally agree. And it goes back to, what you said earlier. Your kids see it and they see through what you're saying. And so they're going to pick up on that positivity or that negativity. And I feel like even right now, it is hard. I mean, life is hard, but like it's hard right now. And sometimes to put a smile on and get in front of my computer again, it's not always easy. But I think that first of all, what makes me smile is knowing that I get to spend the day with my students. Yeah. And, that's the best part is it might look different. It might be more difficult. I get to spend every day with my kids, and they feed off that and they pick up on that. So I think that is even more reason to be as positive as possible, because they're going to pick up on the negativity and they need that positivity now too. So if you can give them that positivity, they're going to feed off that. They're going to be positive. We all need a little bit more of that right now.
We need a lot more of that. And I just remember there were certain tweets that talked about love, and I don't know which kind of love you're talking about, whether it's something that's more tied to religion or something more universal. But at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want our kids to learn to love themselves, love one another, love learning, love connecting with each other. At the end of the day, kids see us and they can feel that love, whether it's in person or through this computer and the distance learning. Kids know if you love them, and they know if you love what you're teaching, and if you love teaching itself, they feel it. It's funny, like, tonight's the first time I met you, Megan, but it's even in this conversation, it's very clear that you're very comfortable and you love what you're doing and building these connections. And kids feel that. Kids see it and feel it. They don't always have the words for it depending on where they're at. But really, I mean, it's more clear than we realize sometimes.
Oh yeah, they know when you're faking it. And one of my favorite things and I say to everybody, and I feel like this is kind of my number one is, they don't care what you know until they know that you care. Until my kids know that I love them, they don't care what I have to teach them. We're not getting any math done until they know that I care. And I think that you're right. They see right through it. If you're fake, they know it, and they're going to see right through it, and you're going to have a harder time. So I think that's, however, and I agree, at first I could not get on board with like the relationships through the computer. I was like, but no, I'm not in person. But even what you just said, this is the first time we've met, and it's just something you can create connections. You can create positive relationships. And those are so, so important right now because like Neil says, I love Neil and I love everything he says, but relationships, they build a learning community. That's how these kids are going to learn. And when it comes to having those uncomfortable conversations, creating that safe space for them to have that comes from knowing your kids, them knowing you, and them knowing that it's okay to say things and it's okay to have an opinion and it's okay to disagree. They need that safe space for that.
Totally agree. I mean, that's exactly how it is in the classroom, and it scales up. That's when I went from the classroom into being a school site principal. The same thing with our teachers and our staff with me, and same thing with our families and me. People look to the person who's facilitating to share that love and that to build that relationship. And we as educators, we know everything is built on positive relationships. If we, just like what you said before, if we don't have that, it's an uphill battle all year long and from henceforth, right? And it's not just in the classroom, it's in schools, it's in marriages, it's in friend relationships. It's how life is. And until we learn how to do that, how to, like, until we love ourselves, it's hard to love other people. And it's hard to be in that place where we're secure enough to be in the skin we're in, right? So, so it is important. It is so important. The skill set that I learned as a classroom teacher really helped me a lot when I became a school leader. And being a school leader is a terribly humbling position. It's been the, what is it? It's like the best of times and the worst of times. And it's hard. You know, it's probably the hardest job I've ever taken. But what I know is goes back to that core of teaching, that it starts with those positive relationships. And how do we do that? We have to build trust. We have to be transparent. We have to communicate. We have to be positive, you know, and we have to have those hard conversations, you know, because I think sometimes those hard conversations not only call out things that need to be changed, but it, just like with kids, right? When we have those hard conversations with kids, that's another way for them to know that we love them, we care about them. Because if I didn't care about them, I might just not have that conversation.
Exactly. I love it. I love all of it. I cannot believe that we have now been live for like 42 minutes. I feel like I could just sit and talk about this all night. I just want to thank everybody that joined us. You did such an incredible job. I feel like I learned so much. I can't wait to go back and read a lot of these tweets that I missed and comment on those. I'm going to be following a lot of people. It was just such an uncomfortably great chat. It really pushed me out of my comfort zone, and those are my favorite times. Whenever I can kind of open that door a little bit, that's my favorite, and I absolutely love that. So Alex says thanks, Alex, such a great recap. I had big shoes to fill, so I was trying. I had a really, really, really great moderator though that made this really, really easy. It was so nice to meet you and so nice to talk to you again. I feel like I could just sit and talk about this all night. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for hosting. Hopefully you will host again because it was incredible. So I'd love to learn from you again.
Same here. And I love to learn from you. And I thank you. I thank Mastery Chat and the Mastery Chat team for letting me. And I really want to thank all the people who joined tonight because, like what you said, if they weren't in the room, it'd just be you and me chatting. So really, all of you made it special and made it something. And I'm so grateful to you coming. Can't wait to read all the tweets.
I know I'm ready to like go back and learn more now. We are so thankful to everyone that participated and everybody that joined us. Have a great night. Go back and read all those tweets, comment, like, retweet, and get a little uncomfortable. Go back and participate. We will see you all next week, same time. I always go 7 p.m. because I'm Central Time. 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Mastery Chat and 9 p.m. Eastern Time for the recap. Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you.